Hi, this is Jess again. I wanted to come back to doing some lunchtime videos about the gospel, about Christ. And the thought that I had today was kind of a complicated thought. I wrote about it this morning on Facebook. I was having a little bit of trouble forming my thought because it's kind of complex. But what I wanted to address in this little video today is the fact that we often try to explain away spiritual events by claiming that they're only really dealing with just material things. For example, one could say that love and emotions are just chemicals firing off in the brain. And that's a sort of way to, I don't know, diminish the spiritual aspects, or just say, you know what, the spiritual side of this stuff is really just made up. It's actually this physical thing. That's it. It's not really a big deal. Just kind of paraphrasing Romans 1:20, it says that his invisible attributes have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world and the things that have been made. So God made all that he made. He made you and me and everything that happens, everything that will happen, every way that everything relates to every other thing he made in order to make himself known, to show us how he is, what he is like. The verse says that things were created to reveal his invisible attributes. And it's pretty easy when you look at nature as a Christian to see some things that display his nature, like the fact that parents and children exist, that that's an idea and that that's a thing, to explain to us somehow of how God, as a creator and father, relates to us as his children. And there's just countless other examples, marriage and things that we know God made to represent himself and his attributes. But one of the things that we so often write off, and I'm just wondering if there's more, is emotions. Maybe it's just a postmodern generation like I'm in. We say, oh, human interaction, almost completely, 100%, just brain chemicals. It's all just evolutionary. It's just things that our brains have developed over thousands of years of hunting and gathering and child rearing that have caused us to develop certain behavior patterns and blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. It's all just explained away. There's no spiritual component even left when you dissect it like that. But what I would hesitate to do is deny that those things are real. Of course, I feel angry or happy or whatever because of certain things that are going on in my body physically, really physically. It is a reality. And I think we ought to think about that the same way that we think about, say, parents and children being a picture of, or a shadow of, the way that God relates to us. See, what we're doing now, and the way we think about it now, is that the spiritual, we treat it as if it's something that we've made up to explain the thing that's only really physical. And we say, oh, emotions, they're not real. They're just this physical thingy that goes on that you happen to have because of random mutations. And that's just not the case. We ought to treat it like the other thing where we say God designed this physical thing, the real physical thing that happens, say an interaction between me and another person that causes a certain brain synapse to fire off and make certain chemicals and whatnot. God created that to display his attributes and his will. God made me and you to be a sort of a vessel that displays God's attributes, so that when we enter into a loving relationship, or we feel anger, or we feel like a sense of needing justice, that's not something that's just physical. It is physical. There is a real physical, scientific component to it, but we ought to think about that as a shadow, a pointing to, a type of the real thing, which is the spiritual side of it. That's the real battle that we have to face. And so I guess in the end, I would encourage us as postmodern thinkers. I'm 25. I know that people my age and people in their 30s and 40s often default to thinking that things are only natural, things are only secular, to use a technical word. They don't really involve the spiritual, but the truth is that everything not only involves, but only ever points to and should point to our relationship with God, God's relationship with us, His attributes, His will. And so in everything we ought to consider what are the real spiritual implications of what I am actually physically seeing and perceiving around me. So, until next time.